Welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Podcast, hosted by CRM technology and sales process expert Christopher Smith, talking with sales leaders that have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Listen to find out how the best of the best achieve success with their team and CRM technology. And remember, unless you are the lead dog, the view never changes.
Welcome to Sales Lead Dog. Today we have joining us Kayleb Bowes. Kayleb, welcome to Sales Lead Dog.
Hey, Chris, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to have you on. Kayleb, tell us about your current role and your company.
Perfect. So I'm the VP of Sales at Nationwide Laboratory Services. We're a full service diagnostic laboratory based in Boca Raton, Florida. When I say full service, it's just not one particular item. We literally do the whole gamut. Nationwide actually has a tremendous story in the fact that I want to say we're not a 30-year-old startup, but we've been around for 30 years. And we were grandfathered in with all these insurances, and we're really rebranding and just building the company back the way it should be.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So thinking of, back over your entire career, what are the three things that have really driven your success?
So one, I would say that keeping my priorities in check, right? I think that if your priorities are in check, that work's going to follow too. So for me, that's going to be that God, right, is going to be number one, that my relationship there. Two, my wife, we've all heard it, happy wife, happy life. And I mean, for me, if I'm having a good day at home, then I think it always transpires to same thing in the job, right? And then three is work. I'm always going to give 120%, but those first two are always my top priority. Yep. And the same thing goes with my team, right? If something happens and it's family related, that's the utmost importance, because I feel like if we take care of them and genuinely care about them, it's going to translate to, happy employees and just that camaraderie that we have. Yep. Second would be, we did an action selling course when I was in the field that totally transcended the way that I sold. So a couple things there, that you want the clients to, first of all, like and trust you, not by talking about their dog or their kids, but knowing that you genuinely care about them, and ask the right questions, right? That you're not just the average salesperson, that you genuinely care. Then it's going to be the company, right? That they've got to like and trust the company. And then third is the product. Then we talk about the product. So that was huge. And then knowing your why. I stress that to the team all the time, that this isn't just your normal 8 to 5. Like, why are you here? Not just to collect a paycheck. And one of the reasons I love Nationwide is because we have a tremendous why. 80% of a doctor's diagnosis is based on their blood work. So we're not doctors, but we really are saving people's lives. And if that doesn't motivate you, then we're probably not the right place for them to be.
Right. Yeah, I love the why. That to me is such an important thing. I actually had a call with my team a while back, and it just dawned on me, we're coming in. I wasn't even planning on talking about this. And I just said to them, I'm like, does anybody know why I started this company?
Yeah.
And nobody did. I'm like, let me tell you my why.
Right.
And I think it's important that people know that, and that they have it for themselves. So important. How did you get your start in sales?
So finished school. I knew I wanted to get into medical sales. Like I knew, and people were like, that's what you want to do. And of course I knew that the money was good too, but everybody wanted 3 years experience for an entry-level job. So a private company gave me my first start, and I mean, I'll always be thankful for them. It was actually in the lab industry, and I promised myself I'd never go back to labs, but here I am now. And you know what? It was like a family there, and they taught us, I don't want to say everything they taught us was the right way. But for me, it gave me my shot, and I always want to go like I'm an underdog, right? So all I needed was for them to give me that shot to prove myself. And then I just took it from there. But I will always be forever grateful for that first company, because it's like banging your head up against a wall when you do want to start getting into medical sales, because how do you have 3 years experience in an entry-level job, which I'm sure so many people are familiar with. But I started in labs, and it's come full circle.
That's great. What do you wish you had been taught when you were first starting in sales?
So I would say that there's not one way to be successful in a sales career, right? Not to go off a script, but to be genuine. I think that's something that you can't teach, to be genuine and to kind of create your own style. Like I said, going back to the first one, my first job, it was scripted, and I felt like people could see that, and it kind of comes off as hokey. And when I started to have success was when I kind of made it my own and really being genuine and showing people that you care about them.
Right, right. What's your craziest, wackiest sales story over your career?
There's so many. If you don't mind, I'll probably give you two.
Go for it.
I was working at Bloomberg, and I was selling to the Fortune 500 companies in Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and Florida. And our VP came down to ride along with us. And it's Florida. Everyone knows Florida is a unique animal. And we're going into this office to meet with their general counsel. And he's like, "Why aren't you in a suit?" I was like, "Well, it's Florida. We don't really wear full suits here." And he was wearing a suit. So we went into that first meeting, and the general counsel's in flip-flop shorts and a t-shirt.
Right.
Needless to say, he never came back down and was wearing a suit again. He understood after that first meeting.
Right.
So Florida's a unique animal. Anywhere else, I travel throughout the country, I'll wear a suit, but Florida is unique in that sense.
Yeah, don't wear one in Denver either.
Right. I think it's changing. I actually just had a big meeting with our director of operations and a prospective client. And I really do think it's changing, because he came in a plaid shirt and shorts. And I just was like, you know what? I respected it just because of the uniqueness and how things are changing.
Yep.
And then I'd say the second one is when I was in the field, we had a strategic account manager that told me I had a 2% chance to land this very, very big deal. And for me, that's just like a challenge. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to show you. Like, you're the strategic account manager. You think we've got no shot, and I'm going to grind and I'm going to make sure it happened. And lo and behold, that ended up being one of our best clients to date. So
that's awesome. I love that. Tell us about the transition to sales leadership. Was that easy for you, or was it difficult?
So I'm still a work in progress, right? And anything that you do, I think that you've got to constantly learning and growing. And that's me right now. And I bounce a lot of things off of podcasts that I listen to, yours being one of them, Craig Rochelle. And then of course my wife too. So there's been numerous times where I do something and I'm like, you know what, I could have handled that better. And I think one of the things that I'm realizing is just wait a second, right, before I respond. Because I'm always moving 100 miles a minute. And that's been one of the biggest learning lessons, is just, pump the brakes and just wait to think about it, wait to respond. And then I would say that the team around me has also really helped. I work very closely with our director of operations and our director of client services. And those guys, like us three as a team, really run like a full team. Like me and the director of operations are running 100 miles a minute, and we need a director of client services sometimes to just tone us back down. Right. So it's been a unique transition. I really do love it. But I also love the fact that I still go out with the team too, and I'm in the field. So it's like that perfect blend of the leadership role and the financials, along with still going to some meetings and keeping my feet wet there.
Yeah. I love that you said pump the brakes, because it made me think of something that I use as a leader. My wife and I, after our first child was born, we took a parenting class, and the person instructing the class said, "Hey, you know what? When your kid is misbehaving or has an issue, you don't have to respond right away. Right. You can just sit and be quiet for a while and let them stew for a little bit."
Yeah.
And you don't have to jump right in and react. Give them some space, give it some time, and see how it develops. I use that, not every day, but I use that when there's issues. I have a really great team. It's not something that comes up really a lot, right, but it's a very useful tool to just pump the brakes, sit and see what happens.
Yeah. Gather yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. What do you think has been your biggest challenge as a sales leader?
Changing the culture. Like I said, Nationwide has so much potential, and we're doing so many great things. And I don't want to say that things were being done wrong before. I think they were just could have been done differently.
Okay.
And we're doing that now, and we have such a good team, and they respond really well. But it's just kind of doing that 180, and building that culture and saying, hey, listen, like, I know this is different than what you were doing before, but just trust me. And the results in a short time have been really, really good. And again, I couldn't ask for a better team, because I feel like if I was somewhere else, and even being younger in this role, right, that's a challenge, right? And if there's people that are older than you, they're like, well, it's been none of that. So they've really gotten on board, and it's showing in our results.
Yeah, I love that. Culture, I think, it's the foundation of success. If you don't have a strong culture, it's incredibly difficult to succeed.
Yeah.
What role does empathy? I'm sorry. What role does empathy play in your culture?
Huge. All right. Well, it goes back to what I was saying with family and stuff like that, right? If the team knows that we care about them, it goes a long way. I'm a big proponent, and people will make less money and work for you harder and be happy if you treat them right than if you pay them more money and you treat them like dogs. So they all know that we care, right? I don't have to tell them all the time, but I'm also a big believer in words of affirmation. And I think my team responds really well to that. Even teams that, like, even people at the lab that aren't part of the sales team and the sales staff, just telling them thank you and like, you're doing a great job goes a long way, and they're so thankful. So I make that an emphasis, that even if it's something small, I let them know, no, it's a big deal, and you are part, especially in our industry. Every single person that talks to one of our customers or a client, they are a salesperson, so they all matter, and just letting them know that.
Right. Do you have a structured sales process that you follow?
Yeah. So it would go back to the action selling, and that has, I don't want to say it's a script, because I'm huge against a script, making it your own, but genuinely caring and asking questions, right? I don't like anybody going into any of these offices or talking to our clients and just splurting out information, because I'd rather them go in, and if we're not the right fit, tell them, because who knows 6 months from now if we are the right fit, and you never want to burn that bridge.
Right.
So asking the right questions, and if you find a pain point, holding that into your pocket, right, for the right time, then selling them on the company, right? I'm always telling them, what is our story, right? What's our story? What's your story? But what is nationwide story? Selling them on that we're not a fly-by-night company, that we've been around, we're doing the right things. And then the product, saving those pain points that they asked the right questions from before, and attacking in that manner.
Right. When you came into your current role, how did you structure that? What were some of the first things you did?
So training with the team and discussing it, because that had never been mentioned before. And I would like to, I don't want to say they were lone wolves, but they just kind of went out and they had results, right? And they were performing, but there wasn't much structure. And I mean, even stuff when we have bi-weekly team calls that we talk about our wins, our losses, and how you're going to add value this week. And it's very clear. I always tell them, I said, guys, people lie, words lie, numbers don't lie. And if we're talking bi-weekly and you don't have a good list of wins and hopefully losses, then you're not out there working. So that structure there, and then just being open, right? Always having an open door to, hey, how can I help you? Like I told you, I love being in the field too. So I always say, like, invite me. I want to be there. I might not talk very much, but it's weird how saying VP of sales is going to be there really does open up some doors. I might not even talk very much while I'm there, but it does open up some doors for the team.
Right. Is it hard to be quiet on those calls?
It depends on the meeting, right? Because sometimes I see it going a different route, and like I told you, I'm learning to and biting my tongue. But I do think the team does a really good job, but sometimes I've got to reel it back in. These doctors like to get off track, and then our whole lunch or meeting can go a totally different way. So I had a boss before in the past that I was the rep and he was doing the same thing. Just sometimes I feel like I'm out there, they're fishing. We're in these meetings and it gets sidetracked, and I'll just reel it back in. And it's a hard stop sometimes. And I see the doctor think, like, why did he just like interrupt? It's not interrupt, but just a weird block where they're talking about politics or something. I don't know,
Right.
but we reel it back into why we're here.
Right. Right. I think failure is such a huge part. I really like to talk about this when I talk to sales leaders, because it is such a common part. And I don't even like to say the word failure, but loss, or when you lose a deal. That's such a big part. How do you approach or incorporate the losses into your learning and enhancing your sales process?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first, I would say that in our industry, it's unique in the fact that when we lose someone, it's not done, right? There's no contracts, right? It's 6 months. They could come back, a year. We can gain them. And I always tell the team, I'm like, listen, those are going to be your biggest and best wins, right? The people that throw you out, the people that say they hate using us, they don't want to use us. When it comes full circle, that's going to be your biggest champion and your biggest fan. So don't take it personal. One of our reps, I love him to death, but he'll take stuff personally sometimes. I'm like, listen, you know what? Once the day's done, like, you're not seeing them anymore, right? Don't take it personal. Like, you don't know what's going on in their life and in their day. And some of my best accounts that I've ever had were the ones that I'm like, we're never going to get them. They hate me. They hate us. Don't take it personal, but also continue to go back. I stress that to the team. I'm like, it's not your first, your second, your third touch. Sometimes it's 10 touches on these accounts, and you never know when you're going to go in there and it's going to be the perfect time, the right day for you. And they'll also remember the way they treated you in those losses. So if they were rude or they threw you out of the office, they're going to remember that. And when you come back in there smiling and you treat them nice, they're going to want to work with you even more.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it's so important to have that consistency and of demeanor and approach and reliability that, again, you're building that relationship. We're in for it for the long term, not just some short win. It's so
right.
important.
I always tell them too, when you go back, add value, bring something else, right? Don't throw all your irons at the fire the first time. Always come back with something else to add to them. You never know which anchor might sink with them.
Right, right. What do you look for when you're cultivating sales leaders? What are those attributes that separate the good candidates from the ones that you pass on?
So honesty is huge, especially for me and my team, right? Hard worker. I'd rather take somebody that doesn't have the knowledge, because you can train the knowledge, but for me personally, I don't think you can train someone to work hard. So hardworking, honest, and willing to learn. I'm a big fan of, stagnant water turns moldy, right? And I don't want my team to do that. So willing to learn, and I'm always willing to learn, and I want my team to do that too, right? I always tell them, I'll never ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. And they've responded well to that. They really will go out there and especially now with how things have changed with us and COVID, our business is totally morphed into not just doctors' offices to hotels, resorts, airports, so on and so forth. So they've really taken the ball and run with it.
Right. If someone wants to pursue that path that said, hey, you know what, I really think I'd be a great sales manager, sales leader, what should they be doing to prepare themselves for that?
I'd say taking the extra initiative, right? You can really tell when somebody just wants the extra power, right? Or they really care. And for me, I think a sales leader doesn't just, obviously you want to care about the company, but I think you want to make your team and the people around you better. So you can see that when you start giving them more responsibility, right? Are they going to take these other reps underneath their wing? Are they really going the extra mile? Not just for the title or to have the job.
Right. Yep. Putting total revenue or new sales aside, what is that measure of success that you have for yourself and for your team?
I would go back to the three priorities that I told you earlier, right? I can't put the first one on them, right? Because that's not everyone else's priority. And again, it goes back to the why. What is their why? Right. But that making sure that those priorities are in line. And it's so true that when we care and there's things that are going on with them, you really see it transpire into their work that they're doing. Right. But I want a team that works hard, right? we have fun, right? They know that we respect them and we like them. I don't want to be any of their best friends. We don't hang out on the weekends, but they know that, hey, we're here for you guys, right? We're going to work hard. We're going to make a lot of money, and we're going to have fun. And this is another thing I've told them too, is this is a career for you guys. I don't want it to just be like a stepping stone. Like, we're building something great. That's the reason why I came on to Nationwide, because I really do believe that we've got something great happening. And you can see it too. They're seeing it. We've got a lot of momentum going the right way right now.
Right. That's awesome. How do you teach your team to keep rejection in perspective? You mentioned a little bit before about not taking it personal, but is there any specific strategies you have around that?
So one of our reps, she mentioned, I told you we have those bi-weekly calls. Right. Then she was mentioning, she hasn't had any losses. I was like, you know what? That's great. You know what? In 2 weeks, because you know what? Next week you might have 10 of them. And just responding and empowering the team, right? I think they've really done a good job of, when there is rejection or there is loss, giving them the reins to make the calls, right? And it doesn't have to all go through us. Like, we entrust you guys. We know that you can get this done. Like, we're here to help you. You don't have to call us for everything. And so we're seeing the trend that when there is rejection, because there always is going to be it, that they're taking the bull by the horns and they're making the steps that we've kind of said, like, okay, so this is what you're going to do. And if there's continual rejection there, then they're bringing us in and hopefully we can help. Obviously that's not always the case, but empowering our team so that they can, if you need to discount here, whatever that may be, that they feel like they are empowered to make those calls.
What's the trigger you're looking for when somebody is, like, if you have a new sales manager that you're concerned may have issues, what's that trigger point for you to engage?
I would say when you can feel energy, right? And when the team's sensing that too, right? I always want our team to be treated with respect, right? And that's when I'm going to step in, as if that's not happening. Like, we all have bad days. And they all know, like, if I can help, like, I'm here for it, but let's leave it at the door, right? I think Disney is a huge example of that. I love Disney. I love Universal. It's great. But you go to Disney and you see the fact that none of their staff members are having a bad day, right? I can't say the same thing about Universal. And I want the same thing with our team. Like, we all have bad days, but you know what? Like, let's put on that face. Let's get to work. And at 5 o'clock, like, you can turn the face off, right? So
I think having a positive frame of mind is really, really important, and being consistent. So let's transition to my favorite topic, CRM. Do you love it or do you hate it?
So you're probably going to love my answer. So when I was in the field, the other reps and the team would actually laugh. I hated the CRM. I would be the guy that was like, visited, right? Stopped in. And I think it would go back to the growth, right? Of really growing and seeing why it's important. I like to say that I could remember who the person was at the office or remember what happened last time, but that was just me being naive. Right? I mean, CRM is so vital. I end my days looking at two things. I look at the CRM and I look at our numbers every single night. And it's funny how it's come full circle, because I was that stubborn rep that you were just having to, like, bang it in my head, like, put your CRM notes in. And I just thought it was not important. Now it's so vital to the organization. Even something so simple as we had, you have a rep go on vacation, or God forbid you lose a rep, for the next person to fill in and be able to see those notes. It's so important. And that's been one of our things with this transition that we've been telling the team, update the CRM. We want to know all the contact information. You don't have to write us a novel, but there should be a good working knowledge of what's going on here for so many things, pipeline, notes, and even for them. Like, nobody's good enough to remember every single office, everything that happened in the last time that you've been there. So it really is funny to now be in this role where I hated it for so long, and I know why it's so important now. So it is vital to our operation.
Yeah, I love that. So what's your advice for a sales leader who has that younger version of you on their team? When you have sit them down and have that conversation, what's your why that you tell them as to how, or, why they should be using CRM?
So that it's not just about them. It's not a micromanaging thing, right? That's what I always thought, that it was, hey, I'm out here, I'm working, like I don't need to put all this stuff in here. So to stress that it's not a micromanagement thing, right? It's a funnel, it's a forecast thing. And for our total operation, that, hey, if you are ever to leave, we can pick back up where you left off.
Right.
Or you go on vacation and another rep's covering from you, that you can see those notes there. That it, again, I stress the micromanaging thing, maybe
Yep.
because that was, to me, that was the hurdle, was I'm out here, I'm working. Why at the end of the day am I having to plug all this stuff in here? But now on the back end, I see why it's so important, and I let the
Right.
team know that.
Oh yeah. And it's also, I think it's a great tool. You talked a lot about being able to step in and help your team. If
Mhm.
they're not putting that stuff in CRM, the only way you're going to be able to know what's going on is to spend a whole bunch of time with them. But if
Right.
they're putting it in CRM, you can quickly scan notes and see what's going on, and probably engage them a lot quicker, which ultimately I think leads to more success for them.
Absolutely. Even for the losses, like you brought up earlier,
Yeah.
it's painting me a picture as to, okay, this is maybe why we lost this client, right? Like they
Yeah.
had this issue, we didn't address it fully. It really does paint a perfect picture for me. I mean, it's funny that now I end my days not just looking at numbers, but I look at the
Right.
CRM.
Oh yeah, that's funny how it just comes back to get you. As a sales leader, what's your biggest struggle with CRM?
Um, you know what? I would say that we have a customized CRM, and there's still kinks and things that we need to figure out and to tailor it to the team. And we're working on that now. And there's more things that I've said, like we have the open communication with the team, like what do you need, right? So we've got that, but now it's putting it into place to make their life a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's great. Um, have you ever experienced a CRM implementation or used a tool where it just flat out sucked?
Yes, and my first job, we had used Salesforce, and again, I had never been a fan of any of them, but we switched over to, oh gosh, it's Oracle's. You probably
Yeah,
know better.
yeah.
I,
I try not to mention any names, but yeah, we get it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we switched over, and it was a nightmare from day one. Management hated it, we hated it, and very quickly we were back to where we
Yeah,
were.
yeah, yeah. That's tough. It's tough, and I always wonder why. Like, what was behind? What were the pain points that caused the switch? And it's always it's fascinating to listen to those. And then you guys are lucky that you're able to pull it back, though. A lot of people have to suffer a lot longer.
Oh, they quickly switched us back. I mean, it didn't
Yeah,
take long. They saw the headaches that we were having, and it was a
right.
it was a quick transition. It's
That's
transition
good.
in, transitioned out.
Yeah. What are your keys to success for a CRM implementation?
So I would say having all your ducks in a row beforehand, right? Um, the training is there, that everything's been carried over from before, that there is no lag there, because that's the worst thing for our team in the field, right? They have all those notes, and then poof, it's in the cloud. They don't have it anymore.
Right.
And then training. The last thing I want to do with the team is throw something else on them when they're juggling 100 things. Now here's this, and they don't know how to utilize it. So that's something that we're working on as a company now, of, hey, when we're implementing new products and new stuff, we've got to train the team on this. And
Yep.
it's the same thing with CRM.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
You want them to use it, they got to know how to effectively use it.
Exactly. And to me, it should be ongoing as well. It's not something that, oh, we did our training when we went live and that's the last training they have on it.
Right.
It should be on a regular cadence of, hey, let's just revisit this part or revisit that, or here's a best practice, all structured around process. I think it's very important.
Absolutely.
Yep. Um, we're coming up on the end here of Sales Lead Dog. I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your experiences around sales and CRM. If Kayleb, if people want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way for that to happen?
So LinkedIn is definitely one, or you could reach me from our website, right? nationwidelabtesting.com, and you can reach out to me there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on Sales Lead Dog. I really, really appreciate it. It's been great chatting with you.
Chris, happy to be here. Thanks for hosting me.
As we end this discussion on Sales Lead Dog, be sure to subscribe to catch all our episodes. On social media, follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Watch the videos on YouTube, and you can also find our episodes on our website at impellercrm.com/Sales Lead Dog. Sales Lead Dog is supported by Impeller CRM, delivering objectively better CRM for business, guaranteed.